I know this sounds shocking to some, but hear me out. What I mean by empowerment is increasing social status and power through education or career. Islam does not encourage women to gain power in this way.
Where does he get this from? Tell me, where does he get this from? Give me one ayat, one hadith that proves this. Where are we prohibited from gaining social status? Where are we prohibited from becoming powerful? Give me one ayat, one hadith where it said that we can't do this. Or, for example, let's say I want to become powerful and by means of my education, and then when I'm powerful, I'll be flogged. In an Islamic state, I'll be flogged. Why are you powerful? Why do you have high social status by means of your education? This is absolute rubbish with a capital R. I'm shocked that people would watch this and not literally vilify him, not stop him from spreading all of this nonsense, these lies against Islam. This is nowhere in Islam. We have never been prohibited or discouraged from doing this, from just being an authority when it comes to religion, when it comes to knowledge. And this is not in Islam that, you know, Muslim women face this sort of an obstacle in their path that Islam says, no, you must not do this, or there would be a punishment either in this world or the hereafter for this. So these are lies, brothers and sisters. These are lies with a capital L. Now, the fact that I had a complete system of my arguments ready, that's why I couldn't budge here and there. Otherwise, I would have refuted him on this. But you have limited time, and I had my own arguments to deal with. That's why I didn't. But that's what a post-debate analysis is. He has no proof whatsoever for these baseless claims about Islam. He's lying against Allah and His Messenger ﷺ by saying that Islam discourages women from seeking social status, from being powerful in society. Where does the Quran say this? Where does the Hadith say this? There were women who were religious authorities, equivalent to men. Yes, equal to men. I will say that because that is the truth. Equal to men. Aisha radiallahu anha was equal and even better than her male scholars from the Sahaba. It is said the Prophet ﷺ praised her and praised her so much because of her intellect. And we see that happening again and again. There were women in the Tabi'at and the successive generations who were powerful because of their social status, because either of their ilm or their presence in society, independent of the men they married or the men who were their family members. Independent, they made a place for themselves in society by themselves. And there was no one who raised a finger at, what are you doing? This is not Islamic. For example, the teachers of the big imams. We know that Imam Malik, Imam Shafi'i had female teachers. Even the other imams, Imam Jawzi had some 70 female teachers. Imam Ibn Kathir had many female teachers. We know that Darda was the scholar, was the teacher of even the caliph. There's a woman who's educating the Khalifa. So these were women who were very high in society. They had high status, and the men in the society respected that, encouraged that. There wasn't anything, this idea of being equal to men. You can be better than men in religious knowledge. There is nothing that is limiting you from becoming a religious authority, because we know that there were muftiyas, women who issued fatwas from the Sahabiyat. There were women who were really good hadith scholars. There were women who were very good in science and other physical sciences and other fields. So this is absolute rubbish.
In fact, Islam is against it. You won't find anywhere in the...
I mean, there were so many people who were like, why were you laughing? And why were you? Tell me what I should do. Tell me what should I do when I hear something as atrocious, ridiculous as that. And I would do that. Either you can laugh or you can cry that the fact that somebody like this can be so popular, that there are people who are actually listening to this rubbish and who actually think that this is Islam. Or I could just leave, but I couldn't do that. So I had to laugh, because what can you do?
The Quran, in the Sunnah, or the scholarly tradition, where women are encouraged to gain power and status in society. Does this mean that there weren't?
Again, false. There is nothing like that. There is nothing like that in the Quran, the Hadith, or the scholarly tradition that says that women should not do this.
Rich or powerful women in Muslim society? Of course, there have been many such women, but they had power by means of marriage, or through family ties, or through inheritance. And no matter how
I mean, this is the diseased mind of a misogynist. I wouldn't even call him a misogynist. Even for misogyny, you need some sort of an intellect. But this is just switching it off, literally. So this is the diseased mind of an ignoramus. You're completely ignorant, completely oblivious of the tradition. And all you know is just speaking words.
powerful these women were, they were still under the authority of their male family members or male political authorities.
Again, this idea of male, we're talking about religion. We are talking about religion as a culture. These women were powerful in their domains, even better than men. Like, for example, who is better, a teacher or a student? So we have Hadith scholars who had female teachers teaching them Hadith. So who is better? I mean, to use that word, even though I would never say that, only Allah can decide who is better and who's not. So again, we see this obsession that he has with authority and power. We're talking about whether he started the subject of whether it is permissible for a woman to seek social status and to be powerful in society by means of her education and career. We know in Islam, and you can check the entire Quran, the Hadith, his claims are absolute rubbish. Literally, with a capital R. In Islam, there is no such prohibition whatsoever. There is no such punishment, let's say, for a woman who is higher in society, who gets this higher status in society by means of her education or career. He's just making up stuff. Literally, he is innovating this ideology. And there you can see, because you guys, many of you may not well be aware of Western philosophy. So his ideas, this emphasis on authority, on power, male authority, and this and that. This is essentially, it's very much, he draws from the feminist rhetoric, from feminist philosophy, rather than from the Quran. So no one in 1400 years of Islamic history has seen this idea of having, let's say, a male political leader as being something which disempowers a Muslim woman. This is not disempowering. The fact that you have an authority over you does not mean that you are disempowered. In Islam, that's how we think. But for the feminist think like this. So when you read this idea, this obsession of power, and we're going to see it again and again, he says so many times, it just smells of Western philosophy. And I've studied it for my master's course. I can tell you that there are elements of Western philosophy that you can take and you can benefit from, but you have to have an Islamic training beforehand. Otherwise, I would never recommend anybody to study Western philosophy if you're not well established in the Islamic tradition, especially the Quran, tafsir, and all of that. But there are elements that you can benefit from. But then most of the elements that I found were well, actually satanic. Literally, these are satanic whisperings when you read Bertrand Russell, when you read Wittgenstein, and when you read, like he's mentioning all of these ideas, Nietzsche and all of that. This is will to power. This is Michel Foucault. This idea of empowerment, power, authority. This has nothing to do with Islam, because in 1400 years, you can read anything. You will never find women having a problem or feeling disempowered just because, or this being a means of disempowerment or an argument for disempowerment, the fact that we have male political authority.